Hi guys, welcome to my kitchen. I'm usually welcoming you to my garden, but today I wanted to talk about all of my seedlings, and actually I have planted them so early that some of them need potting up. So I'm going to prick out some of these little seedlings and put them into bigger pots so they can spread out their roots. Let me just show you. I'm pretty much a slave to my seedlings. I just run them from window to window throughout the day, especially on a sunny day. I'll just sort of follow the sun and put my seedlings in the best conditions I can at any given moment. So I guess it's lucky for them that I'm at home and monitoring their development so closely. But I'm sure a lot of you are a slave to your seedlings as well. I feel like I've probably started mine too early. I've started vegetables and I've started tomatoes. I haven't put in any of my flower seeds yet, but I don't know. This is the time of year where I get really excited for upcoming spring. But it can cause problems too. It does mean you have to take care of your seedlings for a lot longer and make sure that they're getting the needs that the requirements that they need to thrive. And in this case, these were my first plantings on the 13th of January. These are tomatoes. There are two types of cherry tomatoes. I may have shown you these early on, but one is Berry's Crazy Cherry Tomato and the other one is Blueberry's Cherry. And the seedlings have done really well. I got a good germination rate. I did have to, some of the smaller ones are the second planting where I had a cell where the seed didn't come up. So, but for the most part, it was a very good germination. But the problem now, they have their first set of true leaves, but everything is looking a little bit anemic. And the problem is, first of all, the cell is quite small. So the roots don't have a lot of room to spread out, but more than that, the seed starter mix is not really packed full of nutrients. It's more of an aerated mix that lets a seed really take root and get started. It's a light mix, so it's easy for it to germinate. So really what it needs is some more nutrient dense soil, and that's what I'm going to do with these today. I'm going to pot them up each in a pot. I always recycle these. Anytime I get a plant, I wash out the little container and put it aside just for usually this time of year when I'm planting. So I'm going to get started on that, but so I have my cherry tomatoes. Let me just show you what I have here. This is so beautiful already. Basil is a very easy herb to grow. This is dwarf Greek basil. Isn't that pretty? And that also is starting to get its second set of leaves. And this is packed in very tightly. In this case, I don't use individual cells. I just use a recycled mushroom container in which I've poked some holes. And then what I'll do is I'll probably break this up into 4 or 5 different pots, and then it will have more room to spread out. But it's okay for now. It's still nice and green, but that is dwarf Greek basil. So I've never grown that before, but I do love to grow basil, and I have a few kinds that I'm planning on growing this year. So this I'm very excited about. This is called sheepnose pimento, and these are peppers. And they're looking so beautiful. They are also getting their second leaves. These I might pot up today. I'm not sure I'll do it on camera, but they've done really well. But they took a long time to germinate. I planted these, this whole tray of things I'm showing you I planted on the 27th of January. And these are starting to look very pretty, although their stems are wispy. I've never grown this before. This is dill. But if you can see, it's already got its signature lacy type leaf. It's a beautiful plant, and it will put up flowers in the end. But dill is just a beautiful plant, a tall plant as well. But I'm excited to have that in my garden this year. And then This one, these are red burgundy onions from seed, and I'm going to let them get a little bigger before I prick them out separately and put them into some cells. I also did buy some onion sets, which is an easier way to grow things, but I thought it might be kind of fun to try it. So anyway, I've been watering these once or twice a day. It's really important for seedlings that you keep them very moist. If they dry out, they just don't have a lot of roots, and they're just not that big that they can maintain their moisture, especially in a heated house in the winter. So that is one reason I'm a slave to these. I'm always checking on their moisture level. So I'll put those aside, and let me show you two more things. Okay, so well, I did show you my cherry tomatoes, but here's something I'm extremely excited to grow, and I hope my growing season is long enough. These are artichokes, and they're beautiful big plants. They get enormous in the garden, but there's many reasons to grow these. They will be an annual in my area because I get cold winters. But in some areas that are more mild, that don't have that freezing in the winter time, they can be grown longer. So anyway, these are artichokes. I think they're globe artichokes, but they pretty much sprouted within a week, and they're already these big, beautiful sprouts, and I have a lot of them. But another reason to grow them, other than their buds are delicious, that's what it is. It's the flower bud that you eat. That's what you see in the store. The other reason to grow them is they have really long tap roots, and they will break up your soil. So anywhere you plant these, it's going to be a really good thing for that soil. And in my area here in Maryland, we have a lot of clay. So that will really break up the clay and aerate my soil pretty deep down with that root. And then all of the gigantic leaves that this produces will in the end be great biomass, either for mulching or for my compost pile. So there's so many reasons other than eating the artichokes that I'm excited to give these a try. We'll see. I'm really hoping for the best. So I'm gonna go ahead and repot these, give them some better soil and more room. At least the big ones I'm going to repot today. So I've got a mix of potting soil here. Let me bring this up. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to try not to disturb the roots too much. I'm going to take these pots, which were peat pots that I had purchased. I'm also going to be using some paper towel rolls for planting my flower seeds. But these were little peat pots I planted, and as you can see, that's not very much soil. But I think what I'm going to do, oh, and I'm actually seeing roots coming out. They may be too fine for you to see. But I'm going to make sure that I sort of open up the bottom here so that the plants can come out. And I'm going to just cut a little bit upwards and maybe rip it a little bit just to make sure that, although I'm going to leave it in the peat pot, just to make sure the roots can come out, I'm going to set it pretty deep down. This is what I'm doing. You can see it's way below it's just peeking out over the top, so it's pretty low in that pot, and I'm going to fill it up almost to the bottom 2 original leaves. And the reason you do this with tomatoes is that you want roots to grow all along that stem. So anytime I repot this up, or even when I plant it out, I'm going to be planting all the way up to the bottommost leaves, and that way it's going to be giving me a much stronger root system. So again, anywhere along the stem that ends up underneath the soil will send out roots, and that's the way you get big healthy tomato plants. So I'm just going to fill up this first one to show you how to do it, and I'll get some of the other ones which are big. And that peat pot, first of all, I'm planting it so in the peat pot so as not to disturb the roots. But the second part of that is that this little peat pot is going to retain moisture. So even when it's an adult plant, you know, this little bit of paper around the root system is going to retain some of that moisture. Even throughout the hot summer, it might retain it better than the soil around it. So I'm just potting it up in the peat pot. And here we go. I'm not going to compact it too much, although I'm tucking it in so that everything is surrounded. And I'll settle that down. And this is actually container mix. Let me show you what I'm using. This is container mix, which I purchased at Lowe's. It's got perlite in it. I added a little bit of chicken grit. And I did put some composted manure also from Lowe's in here. So it should be a much richer, nutrient-dense soil. And now my little plant has a lot of room to grow, and it's going to be in for another couple months until it goes up to the greenhouse. But hopefully that's going to keep it in good shape and help it thrive until I can actually get it out into the garden. So I'm going to go ahead and do it with the rest of the tomatoes that I think are large enough. And I'll tune back in and show you the end result. Okay, all my potting up is done for the day. I've got my 5 Berries Crazy Cherry tomato seedlings over here with 5 dwarf Greek basil pots. That is what my 1 small pot of seedlings made. I just spread it out through there. And then I have my blueberry cherry tomatoes over here. There were 4 that I thought were ready for uppotting. And then I will repot these as soon as they get just a little bit bigger. Those were my other cherries, which I think got a little later of a start. Those are the ones that I replanted there. So guys, I'm gonna go chase the sun as the sun moves through the sky throughout the day, and continue to dote over my little seedlings. And I hope you'll tell me what you're starting and what's going to be growing in your garden this year. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.